They adopted me after their real daughter was gone, but they never let me forget I was a replacement. Then one day, I found her old journal and realized I wasn't the only one they tried to break. So I waited. And on her birthday, I did something that made their hair stand on end. I-22M was adopted when I was 9 years old. My biological mom passed away. She struggled for years, and in the end, her addiction took her. My dad had been in and out of jail so many times that the state finally stepped in. I was in foster care for almost a year when they found me, David and Rachel Whitmore. They were perfect. At least that's what everyone said. Well-off, polished, community respected. They hosted charity events, attended every church function, and had this massive house with a wraparound porch like something out of a Christmas movie. And they were grieving. Their only daughter, Anna, had died in a car accident the year before. She was 17. Perfect grades, a ballet scholarship lined up, prom queen. Every hallway in that house had pictures of her twirling in white dresses, blowing candles on cakes, hugging stuffed animals. There were no photos of me on the walls. Ever. Not one. At first, I didn't think anything of it. I figured it made sense. Grief takes time, right? I tried to be good. I was polite. I kept quiet. I cleaned up without being asked. I said please and thank you and I love you even when I wasn't sure if I meant it, just in case it might help them love me back. But nothing I did was ever enough. If I got a B on a test, Rachel would say, Anna always got A's. If I forgot to unload the dishwasher, David would sigh and mutter, Anna would have never needed reminding. Every Christmas, they put a stocking up for Anna still, but not for me. I used to buy one myself and hang it up secretly, but Rachel always took it down. Said it clashed with the others. Still, I stayed. I told myself it was better than bouncing around again. At least here I had a room. Food. A school I didn't have to leave after 3 months. But the truth? I wasn't a son. I was a stand-in. A background actor in a family stuck in reruns of a girl who'd never come back. And I think, deep down, they never actually wanted me. They just wanted the illusion that their family hadn't fallen apart. It wasn't until years later, just this past spring, that I realized how much deeper it all went. Because I found her journal. And that's when everything changed. I wasn't snooping. That's the first thing I want to make clear. It was a rainy Thursday and I was home alone, something that didn't happen often since Rachel worked remotely and David had been semi-retired for years. But they were both out that day at some charity event and I was stuck waiting for an electrician to fix the upstairs outlets. I figured I'd kill time organizing the hallway closet, the one near the guest room that was always packed with old blankets, board games, and stuff no one had touched in years. Behind a box labeled seasonal decor, I found a shoebox wrapped in duct tape. At first, I thought it was just more of Anna's old stuff. They had dozens of bins labeled with her name, Anna's keepsakes, Anna's dance costumes, Anna's baby things. But this one wasn't labeled. It looked shoved in there like someone didn't want to see it again but couldn't bring themselves to throw it away. I opened it. Inside were 5 notebooks. Thick, worn, filled to the brim. No lock, no stickers. Just her name scrawled in tiny cursive on the inside covers, Anna Whitmore. The dates ranged from when she was 13 to when she was 17, the year she died. I shouldn't have read them. I know that. But I couldn't help it. At first, it was normal teenage stuff. Crushes, school stress auditions. Then, around the middle of the second notebook, things shifted. The tone changed. It got darker. She started talking about her parents. Not in the ugh, they're so annoying way, but in ways that made my stomach twist. She wrote about how Rachel would control what she ate, calling her bloated if she gained even a pound. How David would check her phone when she wasn't looking. How they'd guilt her out of hanging out with friends. How they threatened to pull her out of dance if she didn't keep a 4.0. How they made her stay in her room when they had guests, so no one would see her mood. One entry said, I'm not sad. I'm just empty. Like I have to perform being their daughter all the time. I don't think I know who I really am. I'm tired of pretending to be Anna. I don't think they love me. I think they love the version of me they created. That line hit me like a brick to the chest, because I'd thought the same thing, word for word. And then came the last few pages. dated just 2 weeks before her death. They weren't just sad. They were terrifying. I told Mom I didn't want to go to college out of state. She said I was being ungrateful and selfish, that I owed them a future they could be proud of. They keep saying I'm lucky. Lucky they give me everything. Lucky I was born into this family. I feel like I'm drowning in their idea of what I'm supposed to be. I think I made a mistake telling them how I really feel. I can't breathe in this house. I want out. But they said if I try to leave, they'll cut me off completely. I don't think I'd survive that. I sat there on the floor for almost an hour, heart pounding, reading her last words over and over. I'd always believed the story they told me, that Anna died in a car accident late one night, heading back from a friend's house. A slippery road, a tree, no foul play. But now I didn't know what to believe anymore. And that was the moment I realized they didn't just adopt me to fill a void. They adopted me to rewrite a story they couldn't control. And they were never going to let me be myself either. After I found the journal, I couldn't look at them the same. They came home that evening, cheerful, laughing about some auction they attended. Rachel handed me leftover canapes like nothing happened. I just nodded and took them. Inside, I was shaking. I didn't say anything for 2 days. I kept rereading the entries in secret, trying to convince myself I was overreacting. But the more I read, the more it felt like a mirror. Anna wasn't just controlled, she was slowly erased. And I realized something I hadn't allowed myself to admit before. They weren't grieving her. They were preserving her, the version they wanted. And they expected me to do the same. Play a part, smile on command, stay silent. So I tested something. That Saturday, I told Rachel I was thinking about switching my major to something creative. Film, maybe writing. She went quiet for a second, then said, "Sweetheart, that's not realistic. You should stick with business. It's stable. We didn't raise you to chase pipe dreams. We didn't raise you." That line stuck with me. Anna wrote almost the same thing in her journal. I told them I wanted to dance part-time and study psychology. Mom said, "We didn't raise you to waste your potential." But I don't think they raised me at all. I think they programmed me. And that's when I knew this wasn't just about me. They broke her. And when she slipped through their grip, they found me. And they were doing it again. I waited until Sunday dinner. The timing felt right, too ordinary to see it coming. They were halfway through slicing roast beef when I said, "I found Anna's journals." The fork dropped from Rachel's hand. David froze mid-cut. Rachel recovered first. What are you talking about?" I pulled one of the notebooks from my hoodie, placed it on the table, spine up. "I read them," I said. "All of them." David's voice was low. "You had no right to. She was miserable." I cut in. "You controlled her. She didn't feel safe in this house." Rachel's face went pale. "That's not true. She was going through a phase. She was dramatic. She said she couldn't breathe around you." I snapped. "And you call that dramatic?" David slammed his hand on the table. "You think you understand her? You didn't even know her." "I know she was broken by the same people who adopted me and started doing the same thing to me." Silence. Rachel looked down. David leaned back, arms crossed. And then Rachel said it. "She was ungrateful, just like you're being now." There it was. No denial. No apology. Just blame. And in that moment, I realized they weren't sorry. They never were. After that night, no one spoke for days. Rachel stopped leaving notes on the fridge. David avoided eye contact. Meals were eaten in silence or skipped entirely. It was like living in a museum, quiet, cold, curated. I thought maybe they'd come to me, try to explain, deny, apologize, something. But they didn't. Instead, Rachel boxed up Anna's remaining things in the hallway closet, including the journals. When I asked where they were, she just said, "They don't belong to you." I didn't push. I'd already copied them, scanned every page and saved them to a flash drive hidden in my sock drawer. I stopped talking much after that. I stayed in my room, started eating out more, kept my distance. The house began to feel smaller, like the walls were listening. But the worst part? They went right back to treating me like the new version of her. Polite suggestions, career nudges, backhanded compliments. Like nothing had happened. Like the truth never came out. That's when I knew they didn't see me as family. They saw me as a do-over. And I wasn't going to let that continue. I started paying closer attention after that. Rachel began sending me articles again, 10 jobs that guarantee a 6-figure salary, how to network like a CEO. She even emailed me a grad school spreadsheet labeled, Our Options. David made comments too. You've got potential if you don't waste it like Anna almost did. Almost? Like even in death, they refused to say she slipped away from them. Like the car crash was just another failed performance. One night, Rachel knocked on my door holding one of Anna's old blouses, pale blue, perfectly ironed. I thought this would be good for your interview, she said. I stared at it. That's hers. She smiled. She'd want you to have it. We do. I closed the door without taking it, because I finally understood what they meant by love. To them, love was obedience. Love was performance. Love was gratitude without limits. And anything else, independence, identity, resistance, was betrayal. I wasn't grieving Anna anymore. I was becoming her, piece by piece, unless I stopped it. That night, I started planning my way out. I didn't want drama. I didn't want to yell or burn bridges. I just wanted to leave on my own terms, something Anna never got to do. First, I found a friend from college who was subletting a room in their apartment. It wasn't huge, but it was cheap, safe, and most importantly, mine. I told them I'd move in quietly at the end of the month. Next, I packed slowly. A few things at a time, hidden in my car trunk when no one was looking. Clothes, laptop, that flash drive with Anna's scans. Anything personal that I didn't want left behind. The house got tenser. Rachel noticed I was pulling away. She left a note on my pillow. We're only trying to help you reach your full potential. Don't throw this family away like she did. Like she did. I didn't respond. I wasn't throwing anything away. I was escaping something I should have never been dragged into. I wasn't their son. I was their second chance. And I was done playing the part. Anna's birthday was coming up. June 10th. Every year, they turned the whole house into a shrine, flowers, candles, framed photos on the mantel. Rachel would bake her favorite cake. David would make a speech at dinner. And I was expected to sit, smile, and say nothing. But this year, I had different plans. I made sure to keep quiet in the days leading up to it. Played along. I even complimented the decorations. On the morning of June 10th, Rachel left early to pick up special candles from Anna's favorite store. David was setting the table when I told him I had somewhere to be that evening. He looked disappointed but didn't argue. At exactly 7:12 p.m., the time Anna was born, according to a note Rachel once wrote, I posted something online. It was simple. A photo of Anna's journal cover. A caption underneath. She wasn't ungrateful. She was trapped. Read her story. I attached a PDF of selected entries. Then I turned off my phone. I left a printed copy on their dining room table. Walked out the door. And never looked back. I didn't even make it to my friend's apartment before my phone started vibrating nonstop calls, texts, emails. Rachel, how could you do this to us? David, delete it now before you ruin what's left of this family. Even people I barely knew, old neighbors, church folks, people from Anna's dance school, messaged me. Most of them said the same thing. I had no idea. This changes everything. I always felt something was off. Within 24 hours, the post had gone viral in our town. The local Facebook moms group picked it up. A former teacher of Anna's shared it with a caption, I always wondered what really happened. And just like that, their perfect image cracked. Rachel sent me one last message. You've destroyed this family. You don't understand what you've done. But I did. I didn't destroy anything. I just held up a mirror. I stayed quiet after the post. Let the world speak for itself. Within days, the Whitmores stopped showing up in public. Rachel deactivated her social media. David resigned from the church board for personal reasons. People stopped returning their calls. Their reputation, built on perfection and charity, was unraveling. They sent one email between them. It was cold. No greeting. No apology. You've humiliated us. We took you in when no one else wanted you. This is how you repay us. I didn't respond. Because for once, they weren't in control. For once, their version of the truth wasn't the only one that mattered. A few people reached out to me privately. Anna's old friend. One of her former dance coaches. Even her high school guidance counselor. They all said the same thing. They saw signs. They just didn't realize how deep it went. Now they knew. And now so did everyone else. A week later, I got a knock on my new apartment door. It was David. He didn't look angry. He looked tired. Smaller. He asked if we could talk. I said no, not without someone else present. He handed me a sealed envelope and left without another word. Inside was a typed letter. 2 pages. Signed by both him and Rachel. It wasn't an apology. It was a warning. You may think you're justified, but publishing private writings is a violation. If this continues, we'll consider legal action. There it was. Their true voice, not parents, not mourners. Just people who'd been caught and now wanted to scare me back into silence. I gave the letter to a friend of mine who's in law school. He said they had no case. Anna's journal wasn't copyrighted. The entries I shared weren't defamatory, they were her own words. Still, the message was clear. They didn't want peace. They wanted control. And I wasn't giving it to them. After that letter, something shifted in me. I'd spent most of my life waiting for their approval, their attention, some version of affection. But now that they'd finally shown who they were, I didn't feel scared. I felt free. I didn't respond to the letter. Didn't call. Didn't engage. I blocked their numbers. Set up filters so their emails went straight to trash. If they wanted to sue, they could try, but they'd have to stand in front of a courtroom and explain why their daughter's journal said what it did. They wouldn't. People like them only thrived in silence. Meanwhile, I started writing again. My own words this time. Not for revenge for myself. For the part of me that had been buried in that house for years. And for Anna. I wasn't going to be their second draft anymore. I was going to be my own story. A month after I posted the journal, a local blog reached out. They wanted to interview me not just about the Whitmores, but about Anna. Who she really was. What she went through. I said yes. Not for attention. For her. I shared the entries. The pressure. The isolation. The way she wrote about losing herself inside their expectations. I told them how that same cycle almost swallowed me too. The article went live the following week. Behind the Perfect Family, Anna Whitmore's silent struggle. It was raw. Honest. And people read it. Dozens commented. Shared their own stories. Some even admitted they used to envy the Whitmores, the house, the image, the daughter, until they realized what had really been going on behind closed doors. Anna's voice, buried for years, was now everywhere. And it wasn't just hers anymore. It was mine, too. 2 days after the article dropped, I got one final message. It was from Rachel. No subject line. Just one sentence. You'll regret this when you're older. I stared at it for a long time. There was no anger left in me. No fear. Just a quiet sadness, not for what she said, but for how predictable it was. Even now, with the truth exposed and their story falling apart, they couldn't bring themselves to ask why I did it. Couldn't imagine that I did it for someone other than myself. Couldn't accept that Anna's words deserved to be heard. I didn't reply. I archived the email. And for the first time in years, I slept without clenching my jaw. They were finally gone from my life. For good. It took me a long time to stop feeling like a replacement. Like I was only ever wanted to fill a hole someone else left behind. But the truth is I was never really wanted. Not for who I was. Only for who they thought I could become in her place. And somehow that's what saved me. Because once you realize someone never loved the real you, you stop trying to earn their approval. You stop shrinking yourself to fit their mold. You stop chasing a version of love that's built on silence and obedience. Anna didn't get the chance to leave. I did. And I used it. If you're reading this and something feels familiar, if you've been made to feel like your love comes with conditions or your worth is tied to how well you perform, please hear this. You are not a replacement. You are not someone's second draft. You don't owe anyone your silence. Tell the truth, even if your voice shakes. Especially then. Subscribe for more daily stories.